Good evening, folks, and welcome to the Nopinz Super League Season 2. We've got Stage 3 for you tonight, which is a 30-kilometre loop, Benslimane loop, and 307 metres of climbing. We'll have a look at the map in a moment, but this will be my first time commentating on this series, and sadly I haven't been able to follow it. I've had other things going on. But I will quickly fall into it. I do know many of the riders, so expect good commentary, even if I say so myself. And let's have a look at the map. Let's see what we're in store for tonight. So this is the course, folks. Now you can see from the profile, I think the tactic tonight is going to be to try and get to that climb, that first climb coming up now, so that you can take advantage of the downhill and along the long flat downhill section which we're currently looking at, because there's a heck of a kicker at the finish here, and I think that's going to be what's going to sort out the winners. I don't see a large group getting to that kicker. I think that could be quite crucial in tonight's race, but only time will tell. We have 4 riders in Zoom. We'll have a look at them shortly, but let's have a look at the standings. As I say, I haven't been able to follow it myself, but I do know many of the riders. Now, it's a solo individual competition as well as a team competition, and you can see the standings are on screen here. So the riders I would expect to, obviously Vanna is a well-known rider. He's going to be certainly one to watch, as is Igor in the Platinum. But in the team position, obviously we have Nopinz way out in front. I don't know what the points are. I'll try and catch up on the allocation of points as we go through the race. Yeah, it's looking like an exciting competition, because in the individual in particular, it's pretty close at the top of the table. The Platinum Gold team points, 60 points in it. So depending on how many points are allocated, that could close up. Whereas the Silver Bronze is a little bit closer competition. And here we are at the start. Now we've got 56 riders online, so a really good turnout, and we're underway. Okay, it'll take a little while for the cameras to get into the action as we watch Arrigo off the front, pulling them along. But I think it's going to be fast and furious. You can clearly see it's a flattish start until we get to that middle section. Now it's only 30 kilometers and already they're hitting 50 kilometers an hour. So this is going to be 55 kilometers an hour. This is going to be very, very fast and furious, folks, because like I say, I'm pretty sure that that first climb is going to prove crucial. The main contenders are going to want to get away on that climb, take advantage of the downhill before going into the valley prior to the final climb, which is very steep. So you can see here we've got one rider off the front, but he's not going anywhere. I can tell you now that a solo rider off the front of a group like this isn't going to get away. Not at this point in the race with so many kilometers left. We will close in and we will get better images as we get into the race. Here we go. In fact, Grauf, I think we'll pronounce that. And we've got some well-known riders taking part, including some of my Team 3R or Nopinz Race 3R as they're now called in this competition members, like Steve Brearley here. He's a real workhorse. Those of you that watch the team time trials that I've been covering will know that he's one of my favourite riders to commentate on, because he never lets up. But we've got Bear in here from ECKG. He's another real workhorse near the front. We've got the Vanners, again from Nopinz. I don't know whether both of them are here tonight. I can't see Jan Van's name at the moment, but he may be here. It's going to take a little while to sort themselves out. I can see Zach Harner. He's certainly up here, so he's going to be a contender in the final standings of that, there's no doubt. We've got Vesper staying near the front. I'm not going to be able to call out all the riders, but as we get into the middle section, I do think we're going to see a split in the peloton, and we'll have a better idea of who the individual solo riders are going to be coming into the final. But don't forget, this is also a team competition as well as a solo competition. It's a team competition, and so therefore I think we're going to see team tactics coming into play. It's nice to see the different teams in the different jerseys. As we go to the back of the group now, and these three riders have obviously been dropped off. It's a tough ask for these riders. I don't see them getting back on. They're almost 200 metres adrift now, 180 metres. They may get back on if they work tightly together and really put in an effort, but I don't really see it. Borut Grauf is the rider that's off the front. I don't know which team he's riding for, but because there's nothing next to his name. But as I say, he's not going anywhere. He's putting in good wattage. Nice effort here, but you can clearly see, I mean, Braley already is putting in the above threshold effort to pull him back. Look, there you go. What did I say about him being a real workhorse? John Beams is there, just coming to the front now. I mean, John Beams, we know everything about John winning his own tour earlier in the season, so he's a class rider, and this course will suit him. Actually, this is what we call a power riders course. Just look at the profile, that bit in the middle, and if John's over that climb and away with a couple of riders, that could be good night and thank you. So the rest of the team are going to, the rest of the players rather, are going to have to keep an eye on John and a few other riders when we get to this middle section. I'm convinced that's where we're going to see the bulk of the action. And it's going to be exciting because at the moment we have a huge group of 40, I think it was 46 in this front group. We got 5 riders in the Zoom room in the Pain Caves. John Beams, Scott Gleeson, Zachary Harner, Pino Ferrari. I don't think I've seen Pino before, so this will be my first look at him. And Hervley Cam, yeah, I've seen. So I've seen the rest of them before, but this will be my first look at Pino, and he looks like he's grimacing and really working hard here. So unusual to see riders wearing glasses, but we've got 2 riders here. I get too sweaty. I wear glasses, but I get too sweaty and can't be racing in them. So I'm surprised to see riders wearing them in the Pain Caves. But there we go. John always looks the same, mouth open, gasping for air. You know, you can see he's struggling with his breathing. Scott looks nice and comfortable, you have to say. Zachary, well, class act Zachary, nice high cadence. Always looks in control. Whether he will do so when we get further into the action, further down, John's keeping the hydration going, which is very important. And you can see Scott and Pino getting out of the saddle. There's Zach, and just look how relaxed he looks. Well, I'm saying relaxed. I mean, that's probably a bit unfair, but he does. He just looks so in control. Lovely cadence, lovely fast cadence. Not rocking too much, just a little bit of side to side, and that's important. You don't want to be all over the bike. You just want to be, you know, you can see him changing gear there, out of the saddle, so he obviously clicked down to put in a bit of an effort here. You can see he's number 4 off the front of this small little group. Now we do have a rider that's gone off the front. I can just see, what is it 12 meters? But like I say, nobody's getting away here. Feldball it was. Nobody's getting away here, folks, until we get to that middle section. I can assure you. I've watched too many of these races to know the tactics. They're not going to allow anybody to get a good gap, because, you know, if you do get a gap going into that climb, there's a very good chance you could make it stick and get away. So obviously the main contenders are going to be watching for that and make sure that no solo rider pulls off the front. Still a very large group. It's whittled down slightly. You can see riders, you know, 29 is just off the back of this group and a few riders behind him. He will get back on, as the rider behind may well do so, but it has slimmed down. We were 49, 46, 47, 48 riders in that front group. I counted 49 as one of the riders that had dropped off, so you can clearly see we're down to what, 31 now, because we've got 31, in fact we're down to 30 in the main group. So it's fairly quickly whittled down. We've got 6 kilometers done, and they've whittled it down to 30 riders. And I'd expect that to, the war of attrition to continue, and I'd expect that 30 to probably become a couple of dozen by the time we get to the lumpy part of the course. Maybe even less, we'll see. Dulac, nice to see him. I mean, he looks very strange on this. Is it one of the Buffalo bikes? Doesn't he look strange on this bike, folks? I think it's one of the Buffalo bikes that you can get in game. I mean, it's sat upright. It just looks so funny. But you know, the bikes, unlike in Swift where you can choose different bikes, the bikes all have the same characteristics in RGT, which makes for fair riding, I suppose. I think in the future they may well change that. It would be nice to see TT bikes with different characteristics and maybe different race bikes, but that's for the future. RGT are doing a wonderful job in terms of realism. I mean, the drafting on RGT is very realistic and close to real life, unlike some of the other platforms. So and that's why a group like this, a group of riders like this, can generally stay together. You've got to be strong, and you've got to be able to hold the wheels. You can't afford to drop off even 2 bike lengths off the back, otherwise you're going to be burning matches getting back on. But another look at the Pain Caves, and I don't know what Zachary's up to, but he's looking comfortable, playing with his mouse. So obviously he's changing view, I assume. Hervé looks nice and relaxed. Yes, he's out of the saddle, but well, is he out of the saddle, or is he rocking and rolling? But Scott just looks so, yeah, he looks so, what's the word? In control, I think. He's a big lad as well. So he's definitely got the advantage on this first part, but will he maintain that advantage when we get to the climbs? Or is his weight going to be... Although, like I say, this is a strong one. I mean, John Beams is a big lad as well, but he's been working on his power. We saw that in the tours, and he went from struggling initially. Well, when I say struggling, I mean, you know, he wasn't able to compete with the very best climbers, but now John has become very much more of an all-rounder, and he can certainly hold his own against the climbers now. And that's just through taking part in the competitions. And you know, one rider I saw signed up, and I haven't seen his name yet, is Casper Hedidam, who was in the standings, you might remember. Now, I haven't seen him in any of this group so far, so I don't know if he's here tonight, but his Feldball is a regular teammate of Casper. So I suspect that Casper's actually not taking part in the race tonight, because I'd expect to see him up the front with his teammate. And in fact, the Danes generally put in a good performance in terms of team tactics. So there looks to be only one or two of the Danes up the front though at the moment. Grauf is once again pushing off the front. We'll keep an eye on his wattage, but yeah, he's doing a sterling ride off the front. And it does look like we have got a bit of a change to the group up front, as I said. It looks like it's whittled down a little bit more. We'll do a head count as soon as we get back and we can see the numbers, but or has it? No, it's about the same. I just saw 27, so maybe they've dropped another 2. So Jan Vanner, in fact both Vanners are here tonight. Jan, I've just seen Jan there at the back. So Jan was bringing up the back, number 27. So in fact, just looking at the listing now, we've got 28. So we've got 28 in the front group. Or have we? No, 27. Because we've got Kronakis here, he's number 28. So they've dropped off another 3 riders. It was 30, remember. Dropped off another 3. Now I reckon by the time we get to the climb, I said about 24 in this group. Could be less, because you can see a couple of riders. You know, once you lose a couple of bike lengths off the back, it's incredibly difficult when the main group are holding this kind of pace. I mean, 52 kilometers an hour, you know, that's pretty insane. I can't get used to seeing that rider on the Buffalo bike though. It just looks so strange. As we have another look at one of the other Danes, Kraglund. Now I haven't seen an awful lot of Kraglund. I think I've spotted him a few times. But he's obviously he's got Simonson. Look at them all on the leaderboard, all together. I mean, they're an amazing. It is lovely to see so many Danes taking part. They even have their own league, the Danish contingent here on RGT. So yeah, it's nice to see such a good turnout from one particular country. This Grauf is really doing a turn on the front. Vanner's gone with him, but he's spending a long time in the red. There we go, he's just dropped out of the red now. Vanner on his wheel. I suspect that this is what's going to happen. We're coming into, look, if you can see, the front riders now are just approaching the start of the downhill. And so the pace is going to pick up here because they're going to want to hit the climb and break this group up. This is exactly the tactics I expected. They're going to really try and push on here and break this group up. Now, obviously the lighter riders will probably be towards the back of this pack on the downhill unless they're really pushing into the red. And they may well catch up on the ascent. So don't count out the riders that have dropped to the back of this group, providing they stay in contact. Really interesting tactics here because they're letting Grauf have that gap. I'm saying letting, obviously they'll be keeping an eye on him. I don't see it sticking, but they can't afford to let him get too much of a lead on this downhill, because if he hits the climb with a lead of, shall we say, 100 meters, that may well be enough if he's a good climber. I don't know whether he's a climber or not. But if he was, shall we say, a decent climber, then 100 meters would probably be enough to get away. But I personally don't see it happening. I think that we've too many experienced riders, including this fellow, Stimson. We've too many experienced riders in this group to allow a solo rider to get away. That's my feeling. Okay, and now we're into the climb proper. You can see 8.7%. So we're on the climb, folks. And as I said, I think the reason why we saw that rider going off the front was probably because he wasn't a climber and he wanted to try and get as much distance as he could before hitting the climb. And that's a valid tactic. And that was a tactic which we saw some of the bigger riders like John would use that tactic to get to the climbs first. But now he is more than capable of holding his own in a group like this on the climb. So Zach Harner, he's very much an out-and-out climber. Well, he's a very strong all-round rider, but he's very much a good climber. So I would expect the Nopinz team to really boss this. I mean, you've got Vanna here on the front, another good top climber. I mean, John, you can see the effort he's putting in here, you know, gasping for breath, as is Scott Gleason. I mean, Zachary, we can't quite see all of him, but he does look smooth, he does look in control. Pino grimacing. And these are the riders that have been dropped. They've done the work. There's Graufluch, the guy that was that's pulling them along. So he's done his work. He set the initial pace. These riders are not going to get back on. Trust me on that. They won't get back to the front of the race now. So it's down to 16 riders. I did say it would be whittled down. 16 riders in this front group, and that's going to be whittled down even more. There's a war of attrition going on here, and those 16 riders are going to be whittled down by the time we get to the top of this climb. It's quite a long climb in terms of the 30 kilometers, so enough for the Nopinz team, you can see here, to push the pace along on the front, to boss the climb. And that's exactly what they're doing. They're very experienced. They know exactly what they're doing here. And they're not even doing the sort of like one rider off the front, away he goes, and then the rest of the teammates sort of like keep an eye on the group behind. They aren't doing that yet. I suspect they might pull that tactic when we get into the valley. We'll have to wait and see. It depends how many riders Nopinz can take over this climb and stay together with. At the moment I can count 4 or maybe 5 Nopinz riders. So yeah, they're definitely the top team in terms of presence in this front group. It's an exciting race. It's going pretty much the way I expected it to go, but there's John. Look, just look at the pain there. Absolutely gasping for breath. I love watching him ride because he gives 110%, along with a lot of the other of my favourite riders. I mean, I know many of the Nopinz riders from my time over on that other platform, and a lot of them have come up through the ranks. A lot of them have been at the top of the tree for quite a while now. And it's no surprise to me that the boss in this competition the way they are, because the by far and away, I think, here on RGT, the sort of like the premier team in terms of sponsorship. And as we can see, Zach Harner, who's he got with him? He's got He's got Vanna with him. So these two pushing the pace along the front, and they may well get a gap here, you know, if they can get onto this downhill. Although it does look like the riders behind, yeah, they've realised they can't afford to let them have a gap going into the downhill. But can you see how it's split up now? I mean, I think we're going to see about maybe half a dozen or 8 riders splitting off the front and getting into the final valley before the climb. So you're certainly not, well, I've said that, and here we are, they've come back together again. But this is such a strong league. I mean, these riders, wonderful tactics from Nopinz though. Look at Scott, absolutely. Yeah, but taking advantage, I mean, this is the downhill, folks. It's 11% downhill, so yeah, he's getting his breath back here. Because if like Scott, you're one of the heavier riders, you don't even have to pedal. And you can see he's probably not pedaling here. We can't see his legs, but it doesn't look like he's moving. He's more than heavy enough. His weight will take him down this downhill. 12% look. So he doesn't even, look, he's nicely tucked in. He doesn't even have to pedal. He can recover. But then he'll start pedaling just before they get to the bottom of the downhill, so that he takes the pace into the transition to the uphill again, or to the flat. So yeah, but very good tactics there from Scott, getting that much needed rest. Herve just looks like, yeah, he looks like he's on a club run. Yes, he's wiping away the sweat and blowing. But yeah, I haven't seen much of Herve. I think this is only the second time I've seen him on camera. So yeah, Zach out of the saddle, really giving it big licks here. He's got a gap. Now, what is it? It's 27 meters, 25 meters. I don't think he's going to be able to make this stick, because Fleger's trying to get on his wheel, but they could work together, you know, these two from Lazio. No, they're not going to make this stick. They need more than what they've got, 30 meters, and they need more than 30 meters to make this stick. But this is nice, because I think Zach's tactic here is to sort of like see who's got the legs in the chasing group, push the pace up the front, and this will be hurting. The rider's having to close this gap and pull them back. This will be hurting the legs. No two ways about it. And yet, notice how none of the Nopinz riders in the group behind are doing any of the work in terms of, you know, letting Zach go off the front. So they'll be saving their energy, and expect the team tactics to come into play as we watch the two Danes now having a go, Rasmus and Bering. Now they've got a 25-meter gap, but again, Klaus, this is not going to stick. They're going to be pulled back. Although it's looking good, and they're stretching out the group. Look, instead of being sort of like side by side or 2s and 3s and 4s, it's now almost single file, apart from a couple of lads at the back. So this is hurting. This is really a war of attrition in terms of, you know, maintaining the pace and staying with the group. But to be fair, I'm simply amazed that so many riders are able to stay with this fantastic pace. 50 kilometers an hour. And what we got, 13 riders? That's pretty amazing. Could we see this group staying together to the base of the climb? I don't think so. I think we're going to see a few more tactics and some of the stronger riders breaking away. I don't see them taking this full group, all 13 of these riders. I just don't see all 13 of them hitting the base of that climb together. It would be very exciting if that does happen. If this group can stay together, it will be quite an exciting finish. But no, now they need to close him down. They can't afford to let him get. It's gone out to 40 meters, and we've seen Rasmus do this in the past. Jump off the front, big wattage. Look, really pushing here. 50 meters now he's got. They need to peg this back. They can't afford, you know. If it gets close to the sort of like 80 meters, and as I say that, they are pulling him back. Yeah, I think they've realised they cannot afford to let him go. If he gets 80 meters, he's gone. So they pegged him back now. They've got him back to 30 meters, which is good goal. Well done, the group behind, because this is fantastic riding. I mean, Gleeson's doing a wonderful job for Nopinz here, pulling his teammates back, look. And notice that that's the first time really that I've mentioned Scott Gleeson tonight. I mean, apart from in the pain cave, we've seen him. But Scott has worked away, pulled his teammates back, and now he's taking recovery at the back of the group. And this is absolutely superb tactics. And why Nopinz are so good? Because they have so many riders who really don't need to show their noses off the front until, you know, later in the race. And then when they do, they have an impact on the race. And that's really clever tactics. So, you know, staying under the radar until like the second half or the third portion of the race. I mean, one of the best things that can happen for you as a rider in this kind of a race is for the commentator not to even mention your name, because it means that you've stayed in the pack, you've stayed out of the wind. Yeah, it's just very, very sensible riding and very clever riding. And we've seen it, you know, I've done a lot of commentating now, and I've picked up on this quite a few times. Riders that have simply stayed out of the limelight in the group until very, very close to the end, and then they've come from nowhere. They've saved all that energy and then released it in the final few kilometers. And we may well see that from a few of these riders. I mean, John Beams, he's not done an awful lot off the front. He's having a good push now, but he's not done an awful lot of work off the front. He's looking more relaxed now. He's obviously going off the front, but he's obviously tempering his effort here. Yes, he's going into the red occasionally, but this is not a push to get away from John. This is just him stretching his legs. He's obviously feeling good. He's obviously got good legs, because he's stretching his legs, looking good, not looking like he's in real difficulty at the moment. But having said that, you know, this is his terrain. The flatter terrain suits the bigger guys like Scott and John. So you would expect them to go well on this valley section of this route. And you can tell how tough it's been because of the time. I mean, the pace these guys have been going at, but we're already 31 minutes in for a 30-kilometre course with 7.5 kilometres remaining. So, yeah, it's been a tough course. It hasn't been a gimme by any means. That section in the middle certainly sorted them out. And you can clearly see the deep red coming up for this final climb. My guess is that's going to be well over 10%, this final climb, and that's going to hurt. Only the very strongest riders are going to be able to contest that final green section that you can see after the climb. And it's only short, it's only, I would say, a couple of kilometers at the very most, probably even less. So whoever gets up the climb first, I think is going to take the win. I don't see anybody being caught once they're at the top of the climb. And I do think we're going to see a solo rider break away from the group. This kind of a course, I don't see it being a group finish with a climb like that. We're going to see one rider, the strongest rider in this group, just simply take it away on that final climb. They do have to close this down. We've got obviously Gleeson has gone with Rasmus Feldball. They do need to close this down. I mean, Nopinz aren't going to do any chasing here, purely and simply because they've got their teammate Scott Gleeson here off the front. So they're not going to chase it down. They're just going to be saving their, they're going to be saving their effort. Yes, a Nopinz rider is off the front, but I can assure you he won't be pushing the pace along. He'll be letting others come to the front, like a perfect example of what I've just said. You can clearly see Vanna there wasn't doing any real effort off the front, whereas now they will sort of like sit in the wheels, but they're not going to push off the front. They're not going to. Having said that, who's this wanting to try and get a yeah, classic tactics this. Okay, riders trying to get across to their teammates off the front. They don't want to be too far behind because Gleeson and Feldball, they've now got an 80-meter gap, which means, one of those two riders could well take the win. I don't think so, though. I think this group behind are just biding their time. And I think the winner is going to come from this group here rather than the two riders in front, Feldball and Gleeson. I think they're just setting it up for the teammates. In particular, Gleeson is anyway. He's simply setting it up for his teammates. Oh, but there we go. Rasio Racing's Plager. He's absolutely stormed off the front. Maybe he wants to go for a long one. 5 kilometers, too far. Too far. He's not going to get away with 5 kilometers to go. But he is going to possibly get on the wheels of these two. Now, what could happen is he could slingshot them, but I don't know. I don't see that happening. I do see him getting on the wheels, which is now proving me correct. There you go. Now he's going to try and slingshot, but I don't think he's got it in. No, it's cost him too much to actually get on the wheels of these two riders. To be able to sort of like slingshot and go past, you've got to really be on a good day with good legs, because it's an awesome effort just to close up the gap, to bridge across, and to actually then go on and take the lead. It's a big ask. It's a big ask. This is getting very exciting. 4.3 kilometers to go. As I say, we will see a rider breaking out of this group, but how many of this group are going to hit the base of that climb together? I mean, Scott's looking good. John Beams is just, yeah, he's tempering his effort. I'd expect him to be up there at the finish. Pino really, really working hard. Zachary Harner just looks like he's on a Sunday stroll. Evan Oystenson from 3R. Well, nice to see him in the event. We have a look at some of the riders that have been dropped off further down the field. And Dulac on it. That just looks weird. It really does. I mean, I admire him for doing this, but it just looks so weird. So you can see the Danish contingent, look, all working together at the back of the field. Amazing to see. I love to see that. Gleeson. Whoa. Now then, I said he was a big lad. He's really going for it. He needs to hit the base of the climb though with a good gap in order to make this stick. But having said that, he's got 100 plus meters, 135. Is that going to be enough? My heart says, come on, go for it, lad. But my head says no. He's going to get pulled in. I think you can see he's a very strong, big lad. But I think they'll reel him in on the climb. I think he's going to suffer once this climb starts hitting 10+%. I hope I'm wrong. I mean, anybody that does what he's done here and jumps off the front and really goes for it, I mean, you can see he's hurting. He's already into the, yes, it's only 1% now, but he's already into the base of the climb. But very, very quickly, it's going to kick up. But they've already pulled him back to, he had 130 meters and they've already pulled him back to 35. He's not going to, I'm sorry, but he's not going to take the win here. So I've called that one correct. He's too big a lad. He's not an out-and-out climber. And this, there you go, they've gone past him. This is going to go to one of the climbers. I mean, Rasmus Feldbaugh obviously is one of the climbers, but here come the rest of the climbers, the Vanners, the Nopinz lads. Feldbaugh's looking very strong here. We're on 5%, but it kicks up a lot more than 5%. So Zach Harner, you can see, leading out the Nopinz riders. You know, I'm not going to call a winner, I don't think, at this stage, purely and simply because everybody in this group has done fantastic work, and whoever takes this, you know, it's going to be an amazing win. And it is definitely going to be one of the two climbers that's going to take this, as opposed to one of the all-rounders like John Beams. So let's have a look at and see who's on the front now. Here we go. We got Kops, Igor Kops. Now Igor has stayed out of the limelight. Remember what I said about Heredin? I mean, we haven't even called him out at all in this competition so far. He's absolutely remained under the radar. But here he is at the finish, and it could well, Feldbaugh, I don't think he's going to get back to these two. It's going to be between these two. And if I had to call a winner, I'd give it to the Nopinz rider. But Igor's looking very strong. But I don't know. I just have a feeling he's doing, you know, the other riders just keeping him in sight, and he's going to come past him. Yeah. Now the question is, has Igor got enough to be able to sprint at the end of that huge climb? I think we're almost at the top now. I said it went over 10%. We saw 12% there, but they're coming to the top of the climb. Now Igor, has he got enough to be able to finish this off? They're still on 10%. Easing slightly now. Here we go. We're at the top. And it's about 1,400 meters, yeah, a bit less than that. Oh, it looks like Igor's going to get it. Yes, he's got it. He's got it. You can clearly see when somebody opens up that kind of a gap on what we call the transition from the climb to the flat at the top. You know, if you can get like a 50-meter gap like he did there, you've got it. You're not going to get caught, not in a kilometre anyway. So he's away. He's got a really nice gap here. Zach Hahn is putting in a huge effort here. But I think Igor's got this away at the front. I don't see him being caught now. What an amazing race. What an amazing win as well. I don't know where Igor is on the overall standings. We'll have to have a look at that later. But this has been a very impressive win because he's basically stayed under the radar. I mean, how many times have I called out Igor during this race? Hardly at all. And that's the sign of a class rider, because you basically stay under the radar, you let all the other riders do the work, you stay out of the wind, and you just save it all until the end. And that's what he's done. Absolutely superb riding. Strong finish by Nopinz though. I mean, look at Nopinz. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 riders are going to finish in the top 10. So, including 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. So it's been a superb effort. There we go. Igor Kops takes the win. Fantastic effort. But look at these 3, all finishing together. Just losing out. They'll be happy with that, to be honest. 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. That's going to give them really good team points. So Nopinz are going to be happy with that. Yes, they would have liked the win in the solo, but they've certainly taken the team tonight and extended their lead in the competition. Superb riding. And here we've got, you can see this is 7th place rider from Nopinz as well, Jan Vanner. Excellent riding by that team, and the Danes have put in a really good effort as well. Don't know how many of the Danes we've got in the top 10, but 1, 2, 3, possibly 4 of the Danes in the top 10 as well, as we watch the other riders coming in. Obviously I couldn't call every rider going over the line, but you can see the live results now are on the screen, the top 10. And I'm just so impressed with Igor Kops staying out of the limelight but taking the win at the end. Absolutely superb tactics from him. And it did look like he didn't have any teammates, so a really true solo effort. I've enjoyed covering this. 30 kilometers, it's taken us 45 minutes, so that tells you it's been a tough course. Yeah, very, very enjoyable. I mean, in the end, it was a nice, comfortable, 14 seconds, which you have to say in this kind of a race is comfortable, especially when you look at the riders behind and how close together they were, the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. And even 5th rider, so well, 5th, 6th, and 6th. So yeah, very, very good riding. Scott obviously did his work earlier on in the race for his team. I did say he would lose out on the climb, as did John Beams. I mean, John finished in 10th place, but this is the kind of course where that climb at the end doesn't suit the all-rounders. It's a pure climbers course if the climbers can be pulled along to the finish, as we saw with the Nopinz and Igor. Those riders were pulled along to the finish and were able to take advantage of the hill at the end. I hope I get invited along to cover more of this series. I've enjoyed tonight. This is my first look at it, the Nopinz Super League. I mean, this is season 2. I think we've got a slightly longer course next week, but we'll have a look at that shortly. And I certainly, even if I'm not commentating, I will certainly pick up on this and try and follow when I can. It's a bit difficult because with other commitments I have, trying to fit everything in, but it's been very enjoyable. And the race coverage from ZMS, the graphics are beautiful. Top marks to Nopinz for putting this on, you know. I mean, I think the team over at Nopinz, Matt Lucker and his colleagues, have done a wonderful job coming over to RGT and promoting the 3R team, the Nopinz and Team 3R. It's been a good transition. I mean, we kicked it all off with the group rides, the Team 3R group ride that I led in the early days. But now that 3R are over on the platform racing, we're seeing some really good competition, and this is no exception. Well put together. Big shout out, by the way, to Samir from Samir's Magic Roads, because he's the guy that's putting these courses together. He's doing the Magic Roads, the work behind the scenes, to give you these courses. So big shout out to Samir. He's a good friend and helps out a lot with these courses. Evan Oystenson, one of my ex-Team 3R teammates. Do luck on his funny bike. He ought to have stabilizers, you know. That would make it look even better, wouldn't it? If he had stabilizers on the back. Yeah. And don't forget, with the Buffalo bikes here on RGT, there's no difference, excuse me, in riding that bike like over on Swift, where the different bikes have different characteristics. Here on RGT, everything is the same. Excuse me. So we're watching the final riders coming in here. It's going to be a little while, I feel, before we get the tail enders coming in. Not too long though. And it is nice to see the riders further down the field coming in. I think the white dots that you can see that are not actually on the climb are probably the cameras. So I think all the riders that are going to finish are currently on the climb. I don't know who the last rider is. Last one, I'm being told that the last rider is 4 kilometers out. Now it's down to my producer whether he wants to wait or not. So I'll throw it open to Damon, the producer, whether he wants to wait or whether he wants to wrap. Your call, Damon. I know he's happy to wait, which is nice. I enjoy waiting for all the riders coming in these kind of competitions, because my feeling is that if the riders at the back can stick it out and finish the race, then they deserve just as much coverage as the riders up the front winning the races. And that's generally mine and Damon's and the whole team at ZMS. That's generally our feeling as well. We usually like to hang around till the end of the race. But you have to realise we put in a lot of effort, and particularly, I mean, Damon does multiple streams and puts in a lot of effort. So when he says he's going to hang around and wait for all the riders to come in, sometimes it's not always possible. Because we have to shoot off and get ready for the next stream or the next event. But whenever we can, we do so. What we can do, Damon, is while we're watching these riders coming in, if we could have a look at next week's course, maybe? Or is that not possible while here we go, yes. So we're just going to have a quick look, folks. I did say it was a longer distance, So and more elevation as well. So 40 kilometers next week, 348 meters of climbing. That's going to be enough climbing, as you saw tonight, to have an effect. But it depends on, let's have a look at the profile before we tell you, you know, what kind of a race it's going to be. Do we actually have an up and down profile for this course? I'm not sure. No, we don't. So we don't have the profile yet for you folks. You'll have to wait until later to see the profile. And 40 kilometers, 348, it's likely to be less of a climber specific course than what tonight. When I say climber specific, tonight was a good course for the all-rounders, but with that steep climb over 12% at the end, it was always going to go to a climber if he could remain in the pack, which is what his teammates did. They pulled him along and Ego was able to sit in, never even showed his nose off the front. So he was clever enough to sit in and get pulled along to the finishing climb. And that's where the climbers have, here we go, we have got it. Now this isn't going to be a climber specific course, because my guess is we're going to see a large group getting to the top of that climb, and then there's no significant climbs after the halfway point. Yes, there's a couple of lumps. That is going to be one for the for a genuine all-rounder. I don't expect to see the climbers winning it next week. So let's see what happens. Looking forward to it. I'm definitely going to tune in, because that looks like a very exciting course profile with that initial climb. But you see, what's going to happen, my take on the tactics, and I got tonight's tactics spot on, folks, and I'm not saying I told you so, it's just it played out exactly the way I figured it once I'd seen the course profile. Now next week, with that climb being at the first half, you're gonna see all the main contenders are going to get to the top of the climb as a group. You're not really going to see anybody breaking away, and anybody that does is going to get caught on the second half of the course. So you're not going to see a climber breaking away and staying away next week. I can say that quite confidently. So I'm definitely going to tune in and see how it plays out, see whether I can call it correctly. I really enjoy these types of races because the tactics, I know most of the riders, the tactics that play out. I mean, Nopinz tonight were just absolutely superb with their team tactics. And yes, they couldn't quite take the win, but second, third and fourth on GC, 4 riders in the top 10. You know, they took the team competition easily tonight, and in fact extended their lead. So superb riding. Okay, so what we got left, we've got, I think, 2 kilometers left, the last rider to come in, as we watch Broomman coming in here. I mean, the graphics, Damon, are absolutely superb for this series. So well done to everybody that's contributed. I particularly like the Nopinz colours and the way that the screen is highlighted in pink. It looks really classy, really professional. As we watch Paredes on the climb, just coming towards the top. Now it does kick up at the end. Remember we saw, I think, did it kick up to around about 12% right at the def, or was that earlier on this climb? Whatever, it's been a tough climb, that's for sure, especially at the end. You know, 9.1 knock. So yes, it's kicking up. 12, there we go, I did think it did, yes. So 12% right at the very def, folks. That's got to really hurt your legs. You're going to definitely feel that, and the lactate is going to be really bad. So 2 more riders to come in, but we're going to have a quick look at the top 10 here with the beautiful graphics. Look, I mean, this is class. I am just so impressed with this. The whole team behind this deserves a real clap on the shoulder. Very, very classy. And don't forget, these broadcasts are going out on Esports television. So you're looking at thousands of viewers. It's not just the local RGT viewers that are watching this. These streams are going out on Esports television. So we're getting really big audiences for them. And I'm just being told that I know Mark from my days with Team 3R. So Mark Swatton from Team 3R, or from Race 3R, should I say. Mark Swatton has done the graphics. Yeah, he's a class act. I think actually I've pinched some of his graphics in the past. I think he's helped me with a few odds and sods. Certainly the 3R team have. They helped me set up my my streaming graphics when I first started streaming on Swift and RGT. So top 20, folks, with these graphics, you can see. And you're getting the timings now. We're getting to see the overall timings. So 2 riders to come in. We've got Paredes here, and then Beardog. The Dane. So a Spanish rider, I believe it is, or is it Portuguese? Spanish. Spanish rider and a Dane to come in. 2 kilometers for the Dane. So what, about 6 minutes, give or take? Oh no, he's on the climb, so probably a little bit longer. But we're going to hang around until they both come in. This lad's up and over the climb now, so now we don't have the fancy graphics for the riders outside the top 20, but here we go, they're on screen for you. So you can see the times. And you can see that this is why we hang around with the broadcast until the end of the racing, to give the riders like Sergey here a chance to sort of like have a little bit of limelight. We generally try and cover, and certainly when we do events like Sportives and the kind of events where you've got riders coming in, you know, all over the place, and some are racing, some are not racing. We try to do the same. We try to sort of like go backwards and forwards through the field to cover all the riders. And I know when I've covered individual time trials, I do that as well. I go backwards, forwards throughout the whole field, rather than just concentrating on those up the front. So that every rider gets their moment of fame. And we get to see all the different jerseys as well. So here's the side by side. We've got Paredes. He's just about finishing off. 130 meters to go. Excuse me. Beardog, he's got about another 700 meters to the top of the climb, and then the final, I think it's about 900 meters. The final 900 or kilometer, I think, is on the flat. So, but he's got that nasty 12% coming up just on this corner here. There you go. It kicks up to 9, and it kicks up to 12. Look, just as he goes around this bend. This is brutal. It really is. And you can see from the graphic he's still got a little way to go before he gets to the top of this 12% section. Easing back slightly now as he starts. We call this the transition part, although it's kicking up again, so that wasn't the transition. The transition is where you get to the top of the climb and it starts to ease off. You're still climbing, but that's when you should be changing gear if you've anything left. And we saw that happen with Igor. Igor was able to sort of like increase his gap dramatically once he got onto the transition at the top of the climb. And that's the sign of a rider that's really saved his powder until the end of the race. If they're able to do that, if they're able to sort of like, you know, click down a couple of gears at the end, like here, you'd now be clicking down if you've anything. Well, no, it's not quite at the top. We're still on 7%. But as he gets to the top part of this climb, which looks to be where the bend is in the road, as he gets there, then what you should be doing is clicking down a couple of gears. 10%, look, right at the depth. So it kicked up again noticeably. Out of the saddle, just to get over this 10% section. This is brutal. Here we go, it's easing off slightly, but still climbing. This is a perfect example of what I'm saying. Okay, so I'm pretty sure now it doesn't, I was just about to say I'm pretty sure now it doesn't kick up again, but it has done. But now it won't. Now it will start to ease off. What a climb this was. Here we go. Have we finished with the red? I think we have, yes. So this is the transition period, and this is where you click down a couple of gears. Look, starting to level out now, and you should be putting it in the big ring and really, really hammering. And if you've anything left, your numbers will go red, and you'll pull away from the riders behind you that are still on the climb. I mean, obviously they're going to try and do the same when they get to the top of the climb. But the idea being is that you can pull like a 30-meter gap can go out to well over 100 if you get this tactic right, and you're not going to get caught. You know, with 900 meters to go, you're not going to get caught if you've managed to get to the top of the climb with enough strength to be able to click down those couple of gears. Classic tactics, and we saw it perfectly demonstrated by Igor Kops, the winner of this race earlier. So just over the hour for the riders. Well done everybody, and well done Beer Dog for finishing. And this will be a wrap, folks, once he comes under the line. Thank you very much for tuning in and watching. I, for one, have really enjoyed covering this and being asked to take part. So I'll see you in the next one. We may well be covering the Love Team Time Trial in the later part of this week. So no doubt I will return then. I don't know what else I've got in the meantime. But stay safe, everybody. And we'll see you in the next one. We'll just watch Beer Dog coming over the line, and then we're going to wrap it up. So he's on the tarmac now, finished the cobbles. 100 meters left. Now come on, keep pedaling. Yeah, he's obviously tired. You can tell from his wattage. He actually eased off there. And there he is over the line. So that's the last rider home, folks. We've watched them all come in. Good night and thanks for watching. Stay safe and catch you later.